plugged in my new Chicosy incubator for the my new Chick Cozy incubator for the first time, and I have not added any water to it. And I did that intentionally because I want to use this as an opportunity to talk about dry hatching. If you're new here, my name is Noli. I have been hatching and incubating and breeding and selling eggs since 2018. I have been educating you all about all that since about 2020 online. I am across all social media platforms: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and I also offer subscription-based content through Patreon, which is essentially like a chicken keeping chat group. It's pretty great, honestly. Anyways, I have all kinds of content about hatching and incubation, and I get a lot of questions from people asking me if dry hatching is an effective method to hatch. It's not really that simple. First of all, there are some eggs that do better. Okay, let's back up. Let's talk about what humidity does throughout the incubation process. Your eggs are porous, which means even though that the shell is hard, there is still oxygen circulating throughout the egg and moisture leaving the egg throughout the incubation process. The rate at which the moisture leaves the egg throughout the incubation process is affected by the humidity. The reason that the rate at which the moisture leaves the egg is important is because it determines the size of the air cell, which is located at the wide end of the egg, which can affect the size that your chick inside has to grow, and it can affect the amount of oxygen that your chick has to breathe in those last like 24 hours when it is pipped internally before it pips externally. I swear I'm not speaking a foreign language. Go check out my hatching and incubation playlist, and I promise this will all make sense. But anyways, these reasons are why it's important to maintain humidity and maintain a steady humidity throughout the incubation process. Now, where this really gets complicated is there's some discussion about different breeds like Morans and dark greens, maybe their eggs being less porous and needing a lower humidity throughout the incubation process, so that moisture has more of an opportunity to leave the eggs than like your lighter colored whites and blues. So oftentimes you will hear with Moran's eggs to incubate at a lower humidity, or maybe that with those eggs are the ones where it's suggested to you to just go ahead and dry hatch. But whether or not dry hatching is going to be a good choice for you is really dependent on what your resting humidity is in the room. Like if you're incubating in a room that is like air conditioned or there's heat in it, your humidity, your relative humidity, resting humidity, whatever, is going to be really low in that room. Let me show you. Okay, this Chicosy has been running for about 4 hours, and you can see the resting humidity in this room right here is about 20%. I personally do believe that it's better to have a humidity that is too low. It's better, well, I mean, it's good to have a consistent humidity, but I think that it's less damaging for the eggs to have humidity that's too low as opposed to a humidity that's too high. Too low of a humidity might give you bigger air cells and maybe a little bit smaller chicks, but too high of a humidity is going to give those chicks not enough oxygen to breathe in that eggshell when they pip internally before they pip externally and hatch. However, I have found that a humidity between about 35 to 45% seems to be what works best for me. So I like to run at actually about 43% throughout the incubation period, and then I like to bump it up to 63% at lockdown, which from what I hear seems a little bit lower than where a lot of people like to incubate, but lockdown is a very delicate period, and you want the humidity to be high enough where it's going to keep the membranes lubricated as the chicks are hatching, but not so high that chicks are drowning in the eggs before they hatch. And listen, it's all a learning curve, and it's one of these things where what works for me and my climate here in Florida may be different for those of you out west or in the Northwest in different altitudes in particular. So you kind of just got to play with it and find out what works best in your area. I used to dry hatch. I attempted dry hatching because I'm in Florida and our humidity is naturally a little bit higher, and I hatch a lot of Moran's eggs. But again, what I found is that what works best is to set my humidity between 35 and 43%. In my opinion, the resting humidity of 20% is just too low to really have a successful hatch. Not to say that it wouldn't work out or that it doesn't work out every time, but I just think 43% works out best for the health of my chicks and the hatchability of my eggs.